After many hours of fun flying down the Pacific coast of Baja, we finally set wheels down on the uncontrolled airfield for the world-renowned Baja resort town, Cabo San Lucas. The airfield has a small landing fee and round-the-clock security. The guard is always friendly and will call a cab for you. It's 4 miles into town, and after evaluating hotel prices, we check into one right downtown with moderate rates. Cabo is in a different universe than the rest of Baja. It can get pretty pricey in some of the resorts, especially during the peak season, November through May. One of the fun things about Cabo is its nightlife. Cabo attracts the young, energetic crowd who soak up the beach and bay activities during the day and party at night. Downtown Cabo is lined with traffic, shoppers, hucksters, and great restaurants and bars. There's nothing more fascinating than watching artists apply spray can art to cardboard rather than bridges. Discos and bars with unique names line the marina and provide ambience from hectic to sedate. Those who are not rocking the discos practice their moves in the street. When the sun rises, the party moves to the bay and to the great sandy beaches that line the area. The long white beach to the right is Playa Medano, the most popular local beach. It's the Waikiki of Baja. The harbor is the center of all fishing, yacht, and tour boat activity. El Medano, or Dune Beach, is the central beach crowd hangout. Swimming is good and safe all year round here. You can sip a cool one under the shade of a palapa, watch the crowd, rent a jet ski, sea-doo, panga, or catamaran, warm up on the beach, or cool off in the water, all with a terrific view. They're having a ball. We decide to rent a panga and take the tour around Baja's southernmost tip, Land's End, or Finisterre. The boatman skillfully weaves through snorkelers and scuba divers enjoying the tropical fish and coral just off the cliffs, as the rocky caricature of Fred Flintstone watches all who pass by. Playa de Amor is a secluded beach accessible by water taxi or by a difficult climb over the rocks. Near Land's End is the most photographed spot in Baja, El Arco, or the Arch. It has become Baja's symbol and frames a luxury liner en route to Mazatlan and Acapulco. Pirates Cave has been hewn out of the granite cliffs by eons of wave action.
Yes. Yeah, see it?
Yeah, the hole?
Yeah, the hole.
It all looks the same from the Pacific side, so we head back around the tip of Baja past the last outcropping of rock. That tiny pinnacle on which the Mexican chickens roost is the true Land's End.
Divers off to the right also.
The Pacific Coast beaches are beautiful to lounge around, but the riptide makes them unsafe for swimming. Cabo's coast is lined with swank resorts such as the Solmar, Terrasol, Finisterra, and the Hacienda Beach Resort. And more are being built each year. It's great flying weather, so we're on our way east along the coast towards San Jose del Cabo.
Well, we just passed Land's End or Finisterra. We're in the Gulf officially now. That's what the Mexicans say anyway. Now between Cabo San Lucas and San Jose del Cabo, which is about 10 miles ahead, we're going to have a coastline that's loaded with posh hotels and some great golf courses for those who enjoy golf. And some great scenic view with very, very crystal clear water and great bathing beaches. It's just incredible. It's almost like the Côte d'Azur in southern France. With all the nice resorts along the coast, they all kind of gotten together and ask you if you could just maintain 1,500 AGL along the coastline so you're not buzzing and bothering their bathers and the people who are there to relax and enjoy golf, whatever.
These airstrips marked on the CH-22 are no longer in use. Everyone flies into Cabo or San Jose. 18 miles of resort-covered coastline, and we're at the historic town of the Cape, San Jose del Cabo. The international runway is easily spotted 6 miles inland. Cabo has the natural harbor, but San Jose has the fresh water. A river flows from the Laguna Mountains, making this the ideal place for Spanish galleons, pirates, and merchant ships to stop and resupply. The King of Spain ordered a military outpost here to protect his merchant ships from being assaulted by pirates. Growing unrest among the Indians created concern for the Spanish soldiers, padres, and colonists. They would rather have the Indians remain aloof and lackadaisical. Today, instead of Indian huts and pirates, exclusive hotels allow their guests to soak in the lush green estuary. The major jet port at San Jose has allowed Cabo San Lucas and San Jose to become major resorts for Canadians and Americans.
One of the things about San Jose Approach and San Jose Tower, they like to be called San Jose. First time down here, I looked at the chart and it said Los Cabos, and I kept calling Los Cabos International, and all the variations on that theme, and no response on 118.1. And finally, an Alaska airline pilot heard me, and I was sounding a little distressful by that time, and he says, call them San Jose Tower, and you'll probably get somewhere. Well, I did, and immediately they responded. It's like, it gives you some indication of what goes on in San Jose Tower. Well, we're heading on into San Jose. We've decided we needed our flight plan approved from Cabo San Lucas area northbound, and so we're going to go do that right now.
This airport has a very hospitable FBO, rental cars, and services. The first-time visitor can instantly spot and feel the difference between this quaint town and Cabo San Lucas. This is a traditional town, complete with colonial-style buildings, comfortable outdoor restaurants, and a quiet plaza. The more mature set enjoys San Jose, leaving Cabo to the youthful crowd. The majestic Iglesia San Jose was built in 1940 on the site of the original Padre mission. We launch out of San Jose International for the East Cape that will lead us to the numerous fishing camps and resorts along its shore. The coast is barren for the first 25 miles, untouched except for the occasional cluster of fishermen's homes accessed by the dirt road that runs parallel to the coast. Los Frailes is the first major fishing camp we come to. A first-rate hotel with reasonable prices includes 3 meals a day. Fishing is also first-rate, and pangas are available for rent. The blue water of the Pacific changes rapidly to the blue-green color of the Gulf. Just north of Los Frailes is Bahia de las Palmas, with several first-rate resorts. The southernmost is Punta Colorada. Soon, we're buzzing Punta Colorada. the roosterfish capital of the world. This first-class resort is right in the heart of the world's largest catch rate zone for marlin. A truck meets us and takes us the 1.5 miles to a pleasant fisherman's hangout. This is a tennis shoe and sport shirt hideaway, where those permanently hooked on fishing spend the day out in the Gulf and the afternoons enjoying fish stories.
There's only a few birds away. He had a good hit, but I saw it. I mean, it was pretty big.
Oh, you did see it break the water?
Oh, yeah. He came right over the top, and then you saw the old...
Colorado's been here for over 30 years now. We have 29 rooms. We have 12 cruisers, 7 super pongas. All year round we have fish here. Right now when it gets hot, like say May, June, July, and August, we get more big fish like blue marlin and black marlin. And the rooster fish is when they come in here on May, June, and July. Those 3 months is when we have a lot of rooster fish. We have great fishing all year round here, so it's any time of the year you want to come down, the fishing is good.
What about 7 pounds, 5 pounds? That's around 12. 12 pounds? Yeah.
We have a nice bar here where you can kick back when you get back from fishing. Enjoy the nice view that we have here in Mar de Cortez.
We push northbound along the straight coastline toward another world-renowned resort near Buena Vista. Buena Vista is popular among American expatriates because of its tropical seacoast and easy access to the big city of La Paz via the paved highway. The Rancho Buena Vista Resort airstrip was closed when we flew by, but has since reopened. Hotel Palmas de Cortez has equaled the most luxurious resorts in Cabo. After a hard day's catch, sport fishermen gather around the spacious tropical setting to enjoy the 3 B's of fishing: bragging, boasting, and bull. Hotel Palmas de Cortez has numerous rooms with great views from balconies overlooking the Gulf. 3 large meals a day are included with the pleasant air-conditioned room. The crown jewel in the Baja Resort is the luxurious banquet room used for special occasions. After a day of fishing, everyone relaxes around a dinner on the patio, relating tales of incredible catches and anticipating the next day. At sunrise, fishermen gather around the pier for boat assignments in the largest and newest fleet of cruisers and super pongas in Mexico. The 100-fathom line averages less than a mile offshore, so anxious fishermen can arrive at prime spots within minutes.
We went out for 3 days. First day I caught a pretty good-sized marlin, about 125 pounds. Monday we went back out, caught another 125-pound marlin. I think everybody on the boat caught fish. We let the deckhand set the hook on a couple of the big ones. When he sets that hook, he just hands the pole to us. Nothing better than hooking your first big fish. Fantastic time.
If nothing else, it's a great place to get away and relax. 13 miles north is another enjoyable resort, Punta Pescadero. It's small in comparison to Palmas de Cortez, but it's pleasantly quiet. Punta Pescadero is a great getaway. Spectacular private homes ring the point north of the resort. Buzz the resort and a van will pick you up. Punta Pescadero Resort is built on a cliff overlooking a beautiful coral beach. It has 21 spacious rooms, each with a private patio overlooking the sea. All the water sports are available here, as well as golf, tennis, and horseback riding. The famous Tuna Hole is only 4 miles south. We continue north along the white sandy shoreline toward Bahia de la Ventana and Ensenada de los Muertos. There, we'll leave the coast and turn toward Baja del Sur's capital city, La Paz.
We're going to turn inland now and contact La Paz approach. Climb over the mountains. Actually, we'll follow the road right over the mountains and into La Paz. Let's try calling him right now. La Paz approach, Piper 668 Alpha.
668 Alpha, go ahead.
Piper 668 Alpha is at Bahia de los Muertos along the coastline. We're on the 100 radial inbound for La Paz landing.
668 Alpha, your transmission is breaking out. Call again.
668 Alpha, roger. We'll call in another 5 miles.
Approaching La Paz from the southeast isn't as dramatic as approaching from the bay. It's a vigorous, modern seacoast city. La Paz International is about 9 miles south of the city and is a major airport of entry. There's not a lot of traffic at La Paz, and remember, there isn't any radar, so position reports are important to the controller. Here's an important tip. If you have a lot of baggage to unload, offload your plane in front of the operations office near the tower. Then park in transient. If you don't do this, it's a very long walk across the tarmac with heavy baggage. Friendly airport representatives will be glad to take a modest landing fee. Then you can walk to the main terminal and catch a taxi into town. La Paz's bay and Malecon, or seaboard, is the reason why this area has the longest history of inhabitants of any in Baja. La Paz is fast becoming one of the top resort towns on Mexico's west coast. It has long, white, sandy beaches, great sport fishing, duty-free shops, and a friendly, casual feel to it.
Thank you.
It's not a frenzied place like Cabo. It's a real, comfortable atmosphere with great shopping and sleek scenery. La Paz has many comfortable hotels at reasonable prices.
La Paz, the city of peace. The bay was called Peace by that famous Spanish explorer Vizcaíno that we mentioned earlier on the Pacific side. He got around. The history of La Paz is really one of pearls and pirates. First came the pearls. Spanish noticed that the locals were wearing pearls for decoration, and they got pretty excited about it. So they began checking around, and they found this a huge oyster bed area. This bay, all the way up the coast of Loreto, around the islands off of La Paz, lots and lots of oysters bearing pearl, black pearls as well as the creamy white ones. And so the Spanish got pretty excited, and so did the English, and everybody else that found out about it. For centuries, this area was literally the pearl capital of the world, and particularly around the late 1800s, that was the case. A lot of pearl harvesting going on. And of course, that took its toll on the oyster beds, and eventually, around the mid-30s, the oyster beds started paying out. A disease finally set in, and it destroyed the rest of the oyster beds, and today there's no oysters, at least for pearling. Now, how about those pirates? Well, of course, if you have pearls and treasure in the area, pirates arrive, and that means privateers as well as real pirates. One of the interesting privateer stories is that the real Robinson Crusoe actually came to La Paz and slept in La Paz. Alexander Selkirk was the actual person who literally was stranded on an island off of Chile for 5 years all by himself. And then a English privateer, a sea captain named Woods Rogers, came by and found him, made him a crew member, and then sailed north to La Paz. And he was going to plunder the Spanish galleons as well as any of the pearl ships. So you might say Alexander Selkirk got around in La Paz, and Robinson Crusoe slept here.
The coastline from the northern boundary of La Paz Bay to Loreto is a steep shoreline formed by ancient volcanic activity. Because of the jagged mountain range that parallels the coast, weather systems can be well defined in the short distance between the coastline and mountains. Baja flyers stay in touch on 122.75 and pass along useful information from avgas updates to weather updates.
We are approaching Loreto, headed for Serenidad. We would like to know what the weather is in the Serenidad area, please.
Yes, sir. Serenidad itself is quite clear. There appear to be thunder cells about 30 miles southwest of the field of Serenidad. And southeast of the field of Serenidad, there is a broken layer of about 7,000 feet to about 12,000 feet. I did experience some light to moderate turbulence as I went beneath the broken layer at 6,500.
Frequency 122.75 is an important and fun frequency to monitor for that warm, fuzzy feeling. A beautiful sight along Baja's volcano coast is Agua Verde. The name Agua Verde means green water, the predominant color of Baja's Gulf Coast waters. Just offshore at Loreto is a large, long island, Isla Carmen, which provides superlative diving and beachcombing. That white area on its most eastern end is an exceptionally pure salt deposit in the basin of a large volcano. For centuries, ships stopped here to replenish their salt barrels with the almost pure ancient deposits. The salt enterprise that used to operate here produced 40,000 tons per year. It's now abandoned, and unfortunately, the airstrip is ditched. Less than a half-mile off the old pier is a sunken vessel. The island coves offer great diving and good anchorage for wayward boats. Leaving the eastern end of Isla Carmen, we head back toward Loreto, 8 miles away. This unassuming seacoast town of about 10,000 people has the distinction of being the first European settlement in Baja and Alta California. It served as the California's secular and religious capital for 130 years. This international airport of entry is easily spotted at the south end of town. It's tower controlled, so don't forget to call at least 10 miles out. We followed Baja flyer Lon White in his 172 as he landed and began the simple process of paying a modest landing fee and preparing a new flight plan.
4,500.
The streets of Loreto remind Lon of an older Los Angeles suburb. It's a quiet community, not yet catering to the tourist. The Malecón is new and lined with pleasant places to stay. The oldest trade in Loreto is still practiced with daily vigor. Fishing the rich Gulf waters is still Loreto's major enterprise. The sport fisherman has only a short taxi ride to the marina to rent a boat for the day. But to get a feel for the history of Loreto, you must visit the cobblestone plaza and the mother of all Baja missions, Nuestra Señora de Loreto. Its floor was laid in 1704, and 50 years later it was complete. A sign over the heavy wood doors reads, Head and Mother of the Missions of Lower and Upper California. The interior is a simplistic and functional design, as were all the missions that followed. Rough imported wood beams, adobe and rock, and more recently gold leaf. The original Padres had to find sponsors to fund these missions, so construction progressed rather slowly. Madonna and Child take on a rather Spanish royal appearance. This placid Disney-esque depiction of the local Indians is antithetical to the wretched, naked primitives that originally inhabited the barren peninsula. The resort area of Loreto is actually about 10 miles south at Nopolo. An internationally famous golf course is popular among fly-ins, yet not overcrowded. It's set against the majestic Sierra de la Giganta. The famous 14th hole is a long drive over the Gulf waters and sets you up either for digging clams or shooting birdie. We leave Baja's first permanent settlement and head north. We're going to fly up the road to the magnificent Bahia de la Concepcion and then on to Mulegé. Bahia de la Concepcion is truly one of the marvels of Baja. It's a huge bay, 23 miles long, that is lined with small coves and great clamming. It's a national marine preserve that provides pilots, kayakers, anglers, and windsurfers with crystal clear memories. Unfortunately for the pilot, the one-way strip at the north end has been ditched and is almost overgrown. Flyers can land in Mulegé and rent a taxi to visit this incredible shoreline. Just 10 miles around the bend is Mulegé, one of the great subtropical towns of Baja. This town of 6,000 straddles a wide arroyo formed by the Rio Mulegé. This is a traditional mecca for Baja pilots. The perennial river feeds the length of this town. The valley is covered with a thick stand of palms originally imported by the Spanish padres to provide shelter and dates to this desert estuary. The town clings to the hillside of this verdant valley. Originally served by 3 dirt strips, only one, Serenidad, is available for use. Mulegé's largest inn is Hotel Serenidad, adjacent to the runway. Just step out of your aircraft and walk through the portal to a real Baja treat. Hotel Serenidad is Mulegé's only fly-in resort. It's been catering to pilots for over 30 years and provides a fun, casual atmosphere. Our favorite taxi driver, Pepe, drives us through the quiet, traditional Baja community. Rough, narrow streets lined with stucco one-story fronts. The park is the traditional center of activity in any Mexican community. Local kids invite this old gringo to play basketball. Word spread quickly that the gringo and his 6'3" kid were probably ringers from the States. We enjoyed a good meal at one of the many restaurants and suffered through fascinating tall tales about Baja as told by actor Joe Emmett. Then off in our taxi to the large white building that overlooks the town from its north hillside perch.
This used to be the home for dozens and dozens of prisoners from 1907 to 1975. It was the territorial prison for the southern Baja area. And it ran on the honor system. They used to release the prisoners early in the morning so they could go into town and work. And then at 6 p.m., a prison guard would blow a conch and all the prisoners would have to return for the evening. It closed down in 1975 because only 14 miles up the highway towards Santa Rosalia is the new state prison, and there's no honor system there. It's 24 hours a day.
Across the river on the opposite hill is the mission Santa Rosalia de Mulegé. The original mission was destroyed by a flood, so the new structure was built on a bluff overlooking the river. It's about 1.5 miles southeast of town and serves as the principal place of worship for the community. It overlooks the rich palm forests that line the placid river. You can see why Mulegé is a favorite stopover of Baja One travelers and pilots. Small kids frolic in the lazy waters of the bayou. while big kids power their boats past the lighthouse into the rich fishing water of the Gulf. As the sun sets, the mariachis begin the party at the Hotel Serenidad. Every Saturday, local people and guests gather to enjoy a roast pig dinner and all the refreshment they can handle. Tonight, it's a crowd of pilots helping to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Baja Bush Pilots.
We all that come down here love flying, and we love Mexico, and we love the things that it offers to us. The Baja Bush Pilots is just a way of helping us that come down here fly more safely and more comfortably.
Early the next morning, full of the party spirit, we head past the lighthouse toward Punta Chivato. Jack Wilkerson's 59 Tri-Pacer joins us for the flight. Punta Chivato is a small spur that juts out into the Gulf. American vacation homes line the bay on the south side of the point. Out their back door is the east-west runway. The residents prefer everyone to land on the north-south runway if possible. It keeps the dust down. Then you can use the east runway to get to the tie-down near the hotel. The hotel, situated on a low bluff overlooking the Gulf, is another great kickback place that provides comfortable, quiet accommodations with the usual fun stuff. A pool, beach, scuba, fishing, and relaxation. We pull out of Punta Chivato and turn northwest. We'll head over to San Bruno Airport, then out to Isla San Marcos, and finally land at Santa Rosalia. The large airport at San Bruno was envisioned as a new airport of entry for the Santa Rosalia Mulegé area, but it hasn't materialized. There are no facilities here, and it's about 14 miles south of the nearest big town, Santa Rosalia. 4 miles off the coast is an interesting island, Isla San Marcos. The southwest end of the teardrop-shaped island has a crusty white look. That's because gypsum is being scraped from the rugged barren hills. We didn't land because mining was in operation, and we hadn't made prior arrangements. Back along the mainland, just a few miles south of Santa Rosalia, is Rancho San Lucas, a fishing village with good camping beaches and an airstrip. Along the highway is the new state penitentiary that replaced the Mulegé pen. But the real pearl of this area is Santa Rosalia. This city of 11,000 is the continental city of Baja. It used to be a mining town, owned and operated by the French. It's a must-stop. The landing field is Playa Maria, 5 miles north on the coast. There are no facilities, so buzz the town repeatedly to interest one of the many cabbies to pick you up. Santa Rosalia wears its history for everyone to see. This bustling city has narrow streets and a business-like atmosphere. Notice the buildings are constructed of timber instead of traditional Baja adobe or cinder block. Row upon row of uniform frame buildings are testament to almost a century of French influence. It all started in 1880, when a French company made an agreement with the Mexican government to mine copper from the hills around this flat-bottomed arroyo. A breakwater was built, and soon tall-masted ships transported rough copper ingots to Tacoma, Washington, and returned with timber and supplies. The mine closed over 40 years ago, and the waterfront has transformed into a snug harbor for fishermen. The town is littered with remnants from its heyday. The most unusual is a prefabricated church designed by Alexander Eiffel, who also designed the Panama Canal locks, the frame of the Statue of Liberty, and the Eiffel Tower. It's constructed of galvanized iron and was designed to be a modular missionary church. It was shipped in sections around Cape Horn and assembled in 1897 and is in use today. The Mexican people are predominantly Catholic, and religious ceremonies are a way of sharing among the village and its families. The families of a small enclave on the outskirts of town are celebrating Easter. The children dress in costumes made at home. Some of the hats are adorned with automobile mirrors. These bright faces represent the future for Santa Rosalia, while across town, the skeletons of the town's past slowly disintegrate under the hot Baja sun. Copper-bearing deposits were discovered in 1868, and 20 years later, a French mining company began extracting the ore from the hills and processing it in a huge smelter imported from Europe. The plant is fenced off, but a friendly company guard took us on a private tour.
Por otra parte, sale basura. Esto es cobre. Lleva especie de plata, cobre, oro.
He explains the inner workings of the huge plant. To operate the massive cauldrons and rail cars, the French imported Yaqui Indians from Sonora, over 2,000 Chinese and Japanese laborers, and of course Mexicans. During its decades of operation, a large sooty cloud belched from the tall smelter stacks constantly hung over the city. Our guide describes how the blue-green globules of ore were melted into copper-colored metal. The barren hills west of Santa Rosalia are pocked with mine entrances. 18 miles of narrow-gauge railroad track delivered the ore down the arroyo to the smelter. These hills are honeycombed with 375 miles of tunnels. The mines were hot and dangerous. As one person wrote, "This was a place where men's hearts and bodies wilt as rapidly as a bride's corsage." This French colonial-style building was the administration center for the mining company. It's now the popular Hotel Français and perches on a hill overlooking the Gulf. It's lavishly appointed with continental amenities and has even added a swimming pool. Taking off from the long, smooth strip at Playa Maria, we turn over the shoreline and then inland toward the San Francisco Mountains and one of Baja's true oases, San Ignacio. A paved strip is unattended and is 4 miles from the center of town. A taxi will probably pick you up if you buzz the town. No guarantees, though. San Ignacio is nestled snugly in a valley surrounded by volcanic deposits. San Ignacio is a sleepy little cluster of stuccoed colonial-style buildings. Just about anywhere you want to go, you can walk. San Ignacio is a lush oasis surrounded by forests of date palms that were introduced by Spanish missionaries over 200 years ago. Mexico is the third largest date growing area in the world. The Rio San Ignacio flows from the San Francisco Mountains and has made this a prime agricultural area. The main plaza is the center of town and is a good spot to sit and observe small-town life. A few vendors sell packages of dates to locals and tourists alike. The plaza may be quiet, but there's always a flurry of activity at the local tortilla shop. Most of the town's scuttlebutt is passed along at the tortilleria. The matriarch and central focus of the community is the Mission San Ignacio on the plaza. This is the largest of the original Baja missions. The Queen of Spain reportedly spent 1.5 million pesos for its construction.
This is one of the best preserved examples of the Baja mission. It was completed in 1786, and the reason it's in such good shape and is still an operating church today is because its walls are 4 feet thick of lava block.
It was the brainchild of Jesuit missionary Jose Mariano Rotea, who designed and supervised the construction. The stone-vaulted ceilings were constructed by skilled craftsmen imported to add these flamboyant touches. Rotea never saw the completed project. He and the other Jesuits were forced to leave Baja and return to Spain. The job was completed after 10 years of toil by the newly appointed Dominican priest. The Spanish Muslim architecture surrounded by Arabian palms suggests a Middle Eastern setting rather than an oasis in the middle of Baja. Slowpoke takes to the air, and Jack follows as we head back toward the Gulf Coast. Off our left wing are the Tres Vírgenes, or Three Virgins. These distinct cones are testament to the fiery tempest that formed the central Baja area. These volcanoes last erupted only 250 years ago. We head back to the coast and then north toward Punta San Francisquito.
Boy, oh boy, do I feel hot and chafed. I tell you, that Baja sun can get to you. That's why you need that sunblock, and I forgot to put it on today. And I won't forget it tomorrow, I'll tell you that much. Whoa, whoa, what was that? What was it? Oh, we went through the 28th parallel, the time zone again. We're back on Pacific time.
Just off our nose is Punta San Francisquito, that has 2 strips. Rancho El Barril is a long, smooth dirt strip at the southern base of Punta San Francisquito. It services the private mansion that overlooks a long, white, sandy beach. The approach to San Francisquito is one of the most beautiful in Baja. It's hard to keep your eyes on the runway. As with Cabo San Lucas, the WAC chart shows these strips as unpaved, but we know better. San Francisquito is one of the best kept secrets in Baja. If you ask another pilot about this place, he responds with a grin. It's a quiet, rustic getaway along a blue-green bay. Palm-covered cabañas and palapas are part of this subtropical experience. The cabins have 4 beds and face south. If you want a quiet place to drain your brain or concentrate on a business project, you'll find this is the perfect place. San Francisquito has boats for hire for fun, diving, and fishing. The fish population doesn't suffer from commercial and sport fishermen, so sea bass and groupers get large. However, if you want your catch filleted, you may have to import your own labor. Just relaxing and hanging around is one of the best benefits of this rustic resort. Clean bathrooms are another. As night approaches, all guests gather in the large dining room for a special home-cooked meal prepared and served by Chadi. She and her husband Javier manage the resort and effuse it with a friendly homespun personality. The large cabañas have 4 beds and can accommodate from 1 person to whatever exponential figure is desired. Half the fun of flying Baja is meeting other people doing the same thing. Peggy and John Stevens from Utah flew in for their first visit and have added San Francisquito to the must-return list. Sunrises over the Gulf are usually spectacular and are real photo ops. The early morning sun not only provides a beautiful light show, but warms the wings of the local flying group, the Baja Buzzards. This is an early morning warm-up for the large black vultures that are a common sight along the coast.
Good job, Skipper. We made it.
Avgas is usually available at San Francisquito, although at premium prices, usually around $3 per gallon. After all, it has to be hauled over that 75 miles of dirt road. The best part of topping off here is not only the peace of mind it provides the pilot, but the pleasant service provided by Dora, Chadi's daughter. Taking off from the paved strip, we climb over our palm-thatched getaway, out over the crystal blue-green waters of Bahia Santa Teresa, more affectionately called San Francisquito. We're on our way up the 50 nautical miles along the rugged coastline to Bahia de Los Angeles, better known among gringos as the Bay of LA. The rough shoreline is a spectacular maze of small uninhabited inlets and coves. This would be a great area to explore by float plane or ultralights on floats.
The nice thing about Bahia de Los Angeles is it's a huge, pristine bay, and just offshore is a very large guardian angel island. Between that island and the mainland is a channel in which numerous whales pass at least 2 months out of the year during April and May. Whales like the birds, the mink, the gray, the finback, the blue, orca, and of course that cinematic hero himself, Moby Dick, the giant sperm whale. We're seeing a few of them frolic below us right now as we're passing overhead, and some of them are blowing off steam, one of them's rolling over. It's a beautiful sight. It must be great for boaters who are down there who get even a closer view.
This large sheltered bay is lined with sandy beach coves and inlets. It's a favorite for people intent on fishing or hell-bent for water sports. The large town is a favorite among gringos who are driving. It's paved all the way. They come to fish, boat, kayak, camp, and kick back. This was one of the first active fly-in fishing spots in Baja. In the late 40s, private planes began landing to take advantage of the great fishing. Since then, the Japanese and Mexican fishing interests have severely damaged the northern Gulf marine population. But thanks to Mexico's recent Save the Sea policy, the Gulf is returning to its original rich fishing status. We hitch a ride aboard a truck delivering Flying Samaritans to the local clinic. The road into town is at least 2 miles of sand and dust. So buzz the town before landing, and a cab should pick you up. The Bay of LA has a number of trailer parks, beach camping areas, and marinas. And there are a few pleasant hotels in town. And a rather desolate but shady park. At Guillermo's Marina, you can sit under a palapa, enjoy a good meal, and watch the local fishermen prepare their boats for rental or for their own use. They'll take you out to the islands where you can get sea bass, yellowtail, dorado, and grouper. The local kids enjoy a few carefree moments in a town where hustle and bustle don't exist. The Flying Samaritans open the clinic and provide dental and medical services for the locals. This is an all-volunteer group that welcomes new pilots to participate. The local police officer decides one of our pilots, Captain Randy, needs an attitude adjustment.
Need a cup.
The bay is freckled with small islands, making it popular among kayakers and provides a lot of quiet water and sheltered coves to camp. Looking back at the bay from the south end gives a good idea of the size of this magnificent bay. Just below us is a rough dirt strip referred to as the Munoz Strip. It looks smooth enough from the air, but looks can be deceiving. Let's watch as Captain Jack sets her down. We are visiting friends who live in the cluster of trailers and homes near the airstrip. When the tide recedes, the clammers go hunting. That old clam hunter, Baja Tommy, scores big time. After a fun evening of washing clams down with margaritas, it's time to turn in. The only hotels are in town 6 miles away, so we throw our bags beneath the wing and fall asleep under the beautiful starlit night that constantly hangs over Baja. Turning north, we follow the coast to San Luis Gonzaga Bay and Punta Final. This is a rugged stretch with few places for emergency landings. The backbone of Baja is becoming more defined as we approach the San Pedro de Martir mountain range. The only village along the 65 nautical miles is Puerto Calamoe, a small fishing town. Apparently, aircraft land on the dirt road, but I've never stopped at this spot. There are more exciting stops just around the corner on the beautiful bay of San Luis Gonzaga. There are 4 airstrips around this large bay. On the left is the most southern, Punta Final. We cut across Gonzaga Bay toward 2 airstrips that are located within a stone's throw of each other. The larger strip is known as Rancho Grande. Some refer to it as Rodriguez after the landowner. You won't have any trouble with this nicely graded and long, wide strip. At the east end of the strip is a restaurant building and a dozen palapas. This is a good place to fly in and park next to a campsite and enjoy the beach life. At the west end of the runway is a store with food, drinks, and ice. The property caretakers will be glad to run you to the store and back. Just north of Rancho Grande is Alfonsinas. This is a long-time fly-in resort along a sand spit that divides Gonzaga Bay from the smaller Willard Bay. The strip is wide and frequently used as a road, so buzz the strip first and also check to see if the strip is dry. High tides sometimes leave large puddles of water.
Pirate in an airplane. Waiting in. I think if we have another beer, we'll try it.
I think we're going to stay the night. I think it's time for a beer.
I think there are a lot of beautiful places in this world, but this is definitely one of them. Easy to get to. I think we ought to build a timeshare here.
There are over 20 homes, mostly owned by pilots.
Rented a lot, and then in '62, early '63, we built that orange house over there.
It's a short hop from the airport of entry at San Felipe to this beautiful beach site, making it one of the most convenient fly-in resorts. There's no accounting for architectural taste, though. Like most American colonies, it's owner's choice. Apparently, the Homeowners Association manager is easily bribed. Alfonsina's has a lot to offer. Its restaurant certainly gets an A for abundancia and good food.
Two scrambled eggs and ham.
Uh-huh.
Okay, 2 orders.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
And the quiet view is a great way to have breakfast. There are a dozen rooms for fishing groups, or just you and your co-pilot. And fishing boats are available for charter. Just 7 nautical miles north is another American community, San Bufeo, with an airstrip not on the chart. Like most at Alfonsina's, the owners take advantage of aircraft to get them from their homes in the States to a bit of paradise. The dozen homes lining the beach are all made of rock. A building code has kept this community from becoming a hodgepodge like most of the others. San Bufeo has a pleasant restaurant and 10 rooms for rent. The new graded road from Puertecitos winds its way over rough volcanic flows. The narrower old road, which was considered one of the worst in Baja, can be seen around it. A large black volcanic protrusion is more evidence of the fiery birth of Baja. The lava flows dominate the landscape west of the Bay of Puertecitos. This is another American getaway community perched on the volcanic spit that juts into the Gulf. The runway is in the middle of the community and provides easy approaches over the water. Puertecitos is a small, shallow bay. A nice restaurant overlooks the quiet beach. A hotel has a dozen clean rooms, each with bath facilities. Puertecitos even has a library and post office. Groceries are available at an international franchise operation. Puertecitos is actually 2 communities, a Mexican ejido that surrounds the airstrip and an American community. In contrast to the shacks built by Mexicans, are the shacks built by Americans. Puertecitos is an ugly hodgepodge of mismatched domiciles. But don't miss the main attraction, the thermal pools on the Gulf side of the rocky point. It's easy to find and fun to soak. Depending on the tide, bathers must move around to find the right temperature for them. It ranges from cool and refreshing to scalding. It's fun, but be careful. We head north towards San Felipe, 40 nautical miles off our nose. we leave the mountains behind and follow a coastline of desert flatlands and long, white, sandy beaches. The coast is littered with tourist camps, and a few have strips. But we're intent on landing at San Felipe International. San Felipe is inland and can usually be seen from quite a distance south. It's tower controlled, so remember to contact them at least 10 miles out.
68 Alpha inside, clear to lane 13, surface wind 140 at 7.
San Felipe has a runway worthy of being an airport of entry. Its facilities are clean and neat, and the personnel are very friendly. Checking out of Baja is easier than checking in. Just file a flight plan to the border, in this case, Calexico on the U.S. side. The staff will help you through the procedure in English.
Well, perhaps.
Then pay a modest landing fee, and you're ready to continue your journey. If you're entering Baja at San Felipe, you'll find the procedure as easy and friendly as we did at Ensenada.
Sí. Okay, listo.
Avgas is usually available, but today, Sunday, one of the busiest days of the week, they're out.
30 or 5? 6?
Let's give them our can.
This is an occasional problem because the avgas is trucked from Mexicali. So we wind up hiring a taxi to take us to town to buy enough auto gas to get us to Calexico. There are no telephones at San Felipe Airport, but there is radio contact with the taxi service.
Hi.
One of the legs gets stuck the other day.
The airport is 6 miles south of town. Expect to pay about $12 to $15 for a one-way trip to the center of town. The Twin Peaks north of town provide a distinct landmark from the ground or air. San Felipe is a small town wrapped around a white crescent beach. It's been a convenient escape to paradise since the late 40s, when private aircraft loaded with sport fishermen discovered this lucrative fishing site. The Malecón, or waterfront, is the center of activity, with tourist hangouts appealing to RV and off-road enthusiasts from the States. The next street west of the Malecón is lined with vendors selling the usual tourist stuff. The hats are the same, only the name band has changed. But the best reason for going into town is the proliferation of outdoor seafood cafes, from the unusual to the prosaic, and all comfortably informal. San Felipe is renowned for its shrimping industry, to the point where it was once severely impacted. Now strict government regulations are reviving the overfished waters, and once again providing tasty shrimp cocktails or shrimp tacos. Shrimp fishermen like Andy work hard for a smaller catch than ever before and are restricted to fishing in certain areas of the Gulf. But the catch is steadily improving. The real benefit to pilots is the convenience of San Felipe. It's only a short flight south of Calexico to a paved airport and a fun weekend retreat in the warm waters of the Gulf. From San Felipe, we're going to fly near the paved highway, past El Chinero Peak, past the Serpentine Waterway, through the agricultural valley of Mexicali, then over Mexicali City and into Calexico on the U.S. side. Just north of San Felipe is the vast floodplain deposited by the Colorado River. The greatest international land grab in history has occurred here. Over eons, the Colorado River has taken land from the Grand Canyon and deposited it here. The silt is estimated to be over 2 miles deep. One of the most unusual landmarks in the region is the Serpentine Waterway. It's marked on most maps and is distinctly visible in photos taken from space.
Well, we're just a little north of San Felipe now. We're gaining some altitude, and you remember when we began this trip, we had a flight plan not only for the southbound, but we filed at the same time our northbound. And they're expecting us today at around 3 p.m. local time. And we're actually early, so we're going to have to update with flight service, and we'll do that in just a minute. But what happens if you, for instance, decided to come back a day or two later than you expected? Well, you're not in their computer anymore, so you have to call them by telephone from Mexico. That's flight service. Or you can file in the air. When you get within an hour or two of the border, you might be able to pick up the flight service frequency and refile. What we're going to do is, since we're going to be about an hour early and they don't like you to come across early, we're going to call the RCO near Yuma, the remote communications outlet near Yuma. That's 122.6. Now, there's a rule of thumb. If you are on the desert side of the peninsula, that's the east side, then your frequency would be 122.6 to contact flight service. If you're on the west side, over the mountains, down Pacific Coastline, or you're coming out of Ensenada going north, then your frequency is 122.4. We're about high enough to contact that RCO in Yuma, and we're going to do that right now. That's 122.6. San Diego Radio, Tripacer 668 Alpha on 22.6 in Mexico.
Tripacer 668 Alpha, San Diego Radio, go ahead.
San Diego Radio 668 Alpha would like to update its northbound crossing time. We originally estimated 3 o'clock local. We'd like to cross at 2:45 and land at Calexico.
Tripacer 668 Alpha, San Diego, roger. Update is noted. Customs will be advised, unless otherwise instructed by Mexican authorities. Squawk 1241 until reaching the U.S. border, then squawk 1200. Over.
Okay, we'll squawk 1241, 668 Alpha. Thank you, sir.
Pacer 68 Alpha, roger.
Now, flight service is going to contact U.S. Customs for us and advise them of our corrected time. And U.S. Customs is going to expect that we meet that time. They don't want us to come across early. Remember that. Don't come across early. If you have to circle for 10 minutes or go sightsee for 10 minutes, that's fine. But don't go across early. Now, they expect you to go across at the prescribed time or within a 15-minute window after that time. And then once you're across the border, then they expect you to land within 15 minutes after you cross the border. They're really nice about it, but they really don't want you to come across early. Now, we mentioned that if you're west of the escarpment in the mountains, or if you've just come out of Ensenada and you're heading towards Brownfield to check in with Customs, you have to be on the frequency 122.4 if you're going to advise them. There's a problem with 122.4. A lot of us have had problems contacting San Diego Radio on that frequency because of either mountainous terrain or because of where their antenna is located. I don't know which. But here's a little tidbit that we accidentally stumbled upon. If you're coming out of Ensenada, you're still probably fairly low and you're heading towards Brownfield, and you only have a half-hour flight to Brown, and you can't get through on 122.4. Try Brownfield's ground frequency. It comes through loud and clear. They're happy to help you out. They'll pass the word on to flight service, and then they'll get back to you and confirm the information.
Another landmark for pilots is that Olympic-sized pool just 20 miles south of Mexicali. It's the cooling pond for the world's third largest producer of geothermal power. The mountain escarpment that runs the length of Southern California and into northern Baja is a network of geothermal activity. Unless it's too hazy, Mexicali, the capital city of northern Baja, should be visible off your spinner. If you plan to land at tower-controlled Mexicali International, it's 12 miles east of the city and is easily identified because it's the only object on the otherwise vacant flatland. An on-field VOR will guide you in and keep you from accidentally overshooting into U.S. airspace a short distance north. Lon White decided to check out of Mexicali and pick up some avgas. The procedures are the same as at San Felipe, but the availability of avgas is almost guaranteed. It's a quick flight across the border, which is easily recognizable by the All-American Canal and farmland that lines the U.S. side. Lon goes IFC, I Follow Canal, westbound to Calexico Airport, which is an uncontrolled airport of entry. But we're flying in slowpoke directly from San Felipe, so we need to spot the familiar rectangular outline of Calexico just northwest of the city of Mexicali. The Imperial Vortac is a good nav aid in case it's hazy. Lon has beat us to Calexico and taxis up to the U.S. Customs building.
How we doing?
Customs asks that all flight crew and passengers remain with the aircraft until they have a chance to inspect it.
Do you need any fuel, sir? Everybody.
Then it's inside for the customary paperwork.
Thank you, young man.
Well, while Lon goes inside with the customs agents, I have a couple tips for you regarding customs, and regarding particularly that 1 hour prior notification we talked about in flight. If you filed a round robin, the day you return, you pop up on the customs computer screen in the wee hours of the morning, and it begins your 1 hour prior notification. So that means if you decide to come back at 3 p.m. that day, you've given your 1 hour prior notification real early in the day. No problem. But if you decide, let's say, to come back earlier, let's say around noon, well, all Customs asks you to do is contact flight service and update in the air 1/2 hour before your new arrival time. Now, if you change the day you're going to come back, let's say you want to fish an extra day, all Customs asks is that you call them on the original date that you had intended to arrive, and then they'll take care of the rest. Now, Customs keeps regular hours, business hours, but they're on call 24 hours a day. And there's no overtime fee if they come out at 11 p.m. or 3 a.m. in the morning. Now, this guy right here is a Customs sticker. You're going to need one to go through Customs. It's only $25, and it's good for a calendar year, and it's good for multiple entries. Well, let's go inside and see what Lon's up to with Customs.
Medical, pilot license.
Customs inspectors will want to see your pilot certificate and medical, as well as your aircraft papers. They'll help you fill out the Private Aircraft Arrival Form 178. One way to hasten the procedure is to present a copy of the form already filled out. They'll check it, and you're on your way.
Anywhere after that.
Because Calexico is an uncontrolled field, don't forget to close your flight plan.
This is November 1942 Sierra. Would you close out flight plan from San Felipe to Calexico? We are now in Calexico.
Well, I'm real proud of old Slowpoke for taking us safely around one of the most spectacular peninsulas in the world, Baja California. We had a lot of fun. Now for the most dangerous part of our journey, United States airspace and the California freeway system. I'm Rick Rossler, hoping to see you flying in Baja. Adios.